Good morning, how's it going? Tommy here, bringing you a Wi-Fi battle against someone called Daryl. And looking at the teams there, I'm kind of thinking that Raichu will be a big player in this game. I mean, obviously, Ninjask will die to a T-Bolt, Noctowl and Wartortle might die to a T-Bolt, Persian probably will, Seismitoad and Graveler will die to a Grass Knot, so Raichu is definitely the top priority here, gotta keep him alive, but I think it was a very interesting game in general. Like, it's probably one of the longest games I've had. I think it was like 40 something turns, but I mean, we were both kind of chatting in the Smogon Wi-Fi battle chat thing. That was not a plug, that's where we were. And we're just kind of talking and we were both saying, actually this is a really interesting game. You know, even though it wasn't the closest of games in terms of, you know, final score. I said to him, oh, can I upload this? And he said, yeah, go for it, it's a really good game. So, if you're watching, thank you very much for the battle, definitely enjoyed this one. Because we both bought kind of some pretty interesting Pokemon. There's no, you know, Mesprits or Magmortars or any of that stuff which you kind of see a lot, which tends to be quite predictable. I got nothing against those Pokemon, it's just that I like to see Pokemon which are kind of, you know, bottom NU tier stuff, very unpredictable. Not like Armaldo there, which I bought because I really wanted a Rapid Spinner because I bought a Beartic, and, you know, Beartic definitely does not appreciate the Stealth Rocks. So, I take that Hydro Pump there. I was kind of expecting a more defensive variant, and, you know, before this I kind of looked at Beartic on the Cerebi website and thought, what can I do with this guy? I mean, he's pretty badass looking. I want to use him in some way, but doesn't have the speed to be a good sweeper, at least until his Dream Mode ability is released, i.e. Swift Swim, and he doesn't really have a good supporting move pool. I think he gets, like, Yawn and, you know, obviously, like, Rest, whatever. So I guess you could use him in supporting, like he does have decent defenses, but I've made mine into sort of a bulky sweeper, i.e. I've got like, you know, max special defense, and I thought, okay, he gets Focus Punch, so I'm going to go ahead and make a sub-punching set. Substitute, Focus Punch, Icicle Crash just for that stab damage, and, you know, Bulk Up. I thought that was a pretty good set. So I go for Focus Punch here as he brings in his Graveler, I guess just to get up his rocks, and I fall asleep here because of the Yawn. Now, I stayed in and went for a sub on the Wartortle just because I thought I was faster. I was actually predicting Toxic, but, you know, I guess Yawn works as well. But it's going to go for a Stone Edge here, easily going to break my sub. And I kind of played a little mind game here. I made a bit of a risky play. I was thinking, okay, he wants me to switch. He wants me to, you know, reset the sleep counter, being 5th gen sleep mechanics. So I'm going to predict his Stealth Rock, and I'm going to stay in, burn one more turn of sleep, and just pray to the random number generator that I do wake up next turn. And I do, and I go for an Icicle Crash. Because Beartic, he's been hibernating for a while, he's hungry, he's angry, he wants revenge on this Graveler. So I kill him off with an Icicle Crash, so that was brilliant. Now he brings in this Persian. I kind of thought he'd just go for Fake Out and then U-turn, just because Persian likes to do that. But that's not going to happen because I think he actually goes for Switcheroo, and I'm really glad I did switch out here just because I don't really care about Armaldo getting a burn. I mean, it would be nice to be able to do some, you know, powerful rock blasts, but at the end of the day, it's really here just as a utility Pokemon, so, you know, I'd rather this get burnt than my Beartic. So, he U-turns out here. I really don't care just because I was just going to go for the Rapid Spin. Now that his Graveler's gone, and, you know, that I've Rapid Spin away these rocks, I really don't care about Armaldo anymore. It served its purpose, so I'm going to stay in and die to a Surf. I guess I could have preserved it by switching to Beartic or something, but like I said, didn't really mind at that point. So now I'm going to bring in Mr. Tinkles here, go for a Fake Out U-turn. That was a great movie, Cats and Dogs. When I say great, I mean great at the time. Probably wouldn't enjoy it so much now, but yep, going to go for a Fake Out, and for some reason he brings in his own Persian. That will do a lot of damage. That just goes to show how frail Persian is, but now I figure, okay, I don't want the same to happen to me because he's probably going to go for his own Fake Out. So I'm going to go to my sort of physical wall Gothitelle. I mean, I think this is the same Gothitelle I've been using for a while, and it's quickly become my favourite Pokemon, even though it's not all that useful and it's a bit kind of outclassed by other Pokemon like Gardevoir and, you know, other physical walls like, I don't know, Golem I guess is pretty good at the moment in NU. But I mean, I think it's kind of one of those Pokemon which is good because it's less predictable, so you can catch your opponent off guard sometimes. But I'm really loving the set I actually came across against one of my opponents a few games back, which was like Tickle, Psyshock, and then 2 other moves. I think on my one I've got like Hidden Power Fighting plus Miracle or something. But either way, I've been running that for a while, and I actually had a game a few games back. I didn't actually record it because I think it disconnected halfway through, but it was some game where I basically swept a team just using Gothitelle, just tickling stuff and Psy-shocking stuff, and it's a good Pokemon, let me tell you, definitely a good Pokemon. But unfortunately, not good enough to take these Hydro Pumps from a Seismitoad. It's a lot more powerful than I thought it was, and that is a Hydro Pump, Stab Hydro Pump, not in the rain, but he does have Life Orb, so that's going to be doing a hefty chunk of damage. So I figure Gothitelle, not really all that valuable against his team anyway, so I'd rather let that die than anything else. I figured Beartic could take one, but I wanted to keep him alive, so yep, bring in Raichu here, go for a Grass Knot because I know I'm faster. Now he's going to bring in his Persian. I figured I could take the attack, the fake out U-turn, whatever, but it's unnecessary damage. There's no point in taking extra damage when you don't need to. So I figured I'd bring in Camerupt here. Not a physical wall, but it can take the fake out reasonably well. And next turn I figure he's probably going to U-turn anyway, so I may as well go for the Stealth Rock. He actually doesn't bother U-turning just because, well, I don't really know why he didn't, but he makes a straight switch back into his Wartortle here. I go for the Stealth Rocks, and I knew he had this Wartortle here to Rapid Spin them away, but at the same time I wanted to keep the pressure on him and force him to go for the Rapid Spin at some point, just so I have some kind of opportunity to go ahead and set up here with Beartic. And I'm really glad I got rid of those rocks, just because I'm kind of switching in and out for the rest of the game. And I'd say that's actually part of the reason I chose this game to upload. Just because, even though it wasn't the closest of games, there was a lot of kind of switching towards the end, and we were both being really careful about which Pokemon took the damage and how we actually used our switches, whatever. It's a very kind of tactical, a lot of predictions going on, so I thought it was definitely a good game. But now I'm going to fake out U-turn with Persian just to get a bit more damage on him here. And bring in the Beast Beartic once again, just to take the Yawn or Surf or whatever he wants to do. He does predict this nicely and goes for the Yawn. I think this time I'm actually staying here just because I was kind of getting bored of switching around, but he goes for a Rain Dance as I am going to try and stay in and just set up a Bulk Up, which pretty much sets me up for the rest of his team because he has, what's he got left? Ninjask, Persian, Wartortle, and Noctowl. Now, I didn't really think of this at the time, but the fact that he has a Noctowl probably tells me that he has Whirlwind, and I think I only realised this once he actually brings it in, because now he's going to switch to it, and I thought, why would you bring in a Flying type on an Ice type? Oh wait, Noctowl's a Whirlwind, right? So I'm going to stay asleep. Because of the 5th gen sleep mechanics, I'm going to obviously get my sleep reset when he Whirlwinds me out, so that's not good. But he does blow me out into my Persian here. It means I can get a bit more damage on him with a Fake Out, U-turn combo. Even though U-turn's resisted, Fake Out does a hefty chunk to this guy. I mean, Noctowl's a pretty good special wall, but physically, there is much to be desired. That is a phrase I've loved to use ever since we had some school assembly back in, when I was 10 or something? And the teacher commented on our whole school's behaviour and said, "Your behaviour has much to be desired," and that just stuck in my head. Anyways, bringing Camerupt here, he goes for a Whirlwind, obviously predicting my U-turn there. That was a very good play. I kind of wanted to switch just in case he went for like, I don't know, Nightshade or whatever it is that Noctowl goes for. But he Whirlwinds me out into my Raichu, and that is excellent for me, because I can go for a T-Bolt here. Raichu's name is definitely appropriate here because, look at him, he's celebrating. He gets to T-Bolt on Noctowl. What more could a Raichu want in his daily routine? But now he's going to bring out his Ninjask. I figured he would U-turn, but again, I don't really want the damage on my Raichu. When I've got Camerupt here to take it, again, not a physical wall, but it's resisted, so, I may as well soak up the damage in that way. And he's going to go ahead and U-turn out, bring in his Wartortle once again, and that will threaten me out with a Surf. So, I'm kind of thinking the whole way through, I could let Camerupt die, but it's just unnecessary. I've got Beartic here, who is a special wall, who takes neutral damage from the Surf, so why not, right? I am pretty much at full health as well, so yeah, I figure I may as well stay in here, try and wake up, try and burn off those sleep turns, because he doesn't have any kind of, hard hitters in terms of, fighting, or rock, or fire, whatever, so I feel like Beartic can just stay in here, and once I get up a sub, I feel like I can probably sweep through the rest of his team, just because, Persian can't break the sub in one hit, probably, just looking at that damage with Fake Out. That looks to be less than a quarter, so, you know, I figure Beartic, with its massive HP stat, by the way, I mean, that's nearly 400 HP, and to be honest, it's not really built to be a wall. Now, U-turn's not going to break it either, and, you know, War Total Surf, also not going to be breaking it, so once I do get up that sub, he won't be able to yawn me, won't be able to toxic me, I guess, just in case something has that as well, for some apparent reason. And I think I find out shortly his Persian actually has Hypnosis as well, so pretty interesting set on a Persian, but yep, now I'm going to wake up and go for a sub. And now I'm thinking, Beartic, this is your chance to shine, it's your chance to prove to the YouTube community that you're not as useless as people think you are. You might have a poor defensive type, but you got a lot of raw power, you got a good move pool for offense, so let's see how it goes. I down that protein shake, I bulk up like a beast, get my attack and defense up here, and since the surf isn't breaking my sub, I guess I could have gone for another sub here, just to, you know, obviously keep it there for the next Pokemon, but I decided to go for a Focus Punch just because I know I want the damage on War Turtle as soon as possible. I'm really surprised he lives this. It's a +1 Focus Punch, which is an insanely powerful move by itself, on a Beartic which has like, I don't know what, 300 base attack? I say base attack, I mean, like with no attack investment, this is what it has as its attack stat, but yep, go for an Icicle Crush here, that is going to take him out, nice and simple, and Beartic is in here, not too much health, but I figure, well, he's got Persian and Ninjask, so, you know, both being physical hitters, I don't really feel like they can kill me at this point, just because I have the bulk up, and, you know, looking at his Persian set here, if he had like Return or Frustration, he probably could have taken me out, but I think he has more of sort of a gimmicky set, he said, so like Hypnosis, Switcheroo, Fake Out and U-turn, so nothing to hit me hard. Now, I feel like this was a bit of a questionable play, and I think he actually told me on the chat that he regretted this move straight after doing it, because had he stayed in here and just let his Persian die, I feel like the Ninjask could have done a lot more damage to me, but yep, I go for an Icicle Crash, that is going to take him out from there. Super ridiculous overkill on a Ninjask, but now he's going to go back into Persian, go for the Fake Out just to get a bit more damage on me here. It's doing a bit more than Leftovers, but bipolar here, not bipolar, by winning in this case, hanging on by a thread, 74 health, still in the red. That was a nice little rhyme there. Do I do this every Pokemon video? But he goes for Hypnosis here just to kind of, you know, hopefully get some more damage on me. I'm actually getting Leftovers at the same time, so I'm not really fussed. I think next turn he goes for a U-turn, and I'm just going to go ahead and wake up. Pretty short hibernation this time, go for an Icicle Crash, and that will be the game. So that was actually a really enjoyable game. Definitely thought this was a good game. Even though it was one of the longest and, you know, quite a hard battle to commentate in terms of its length, but hope you guys enjoyed it as much as I did. That was a great game, Daryl. Definitely should battle again sometime. Pretty interesting teams used, and, you know, if you've never tried Beartic before, definitely give it a go. I feel like the sub-punching set, like, specially defensive, is the best one I've actually seen for it, but that's not really saying much given that I've never actually seen it online. Nonetheless, definitely an underrated Pokemon, definitely worth a try. If you guys can come up with any better movesets, let me know and I will be sure to give it a go. But with that being said, hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.